What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the entry list for the 2023 EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to go ahead and start talking about the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This, of course, being driven by Ross Chastain. Now, coming in this year's EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix, Ross Chastain is the defending winner. And Ross Chastain is a very good road course swinger. So this could be the potential possibility for Ross Chastain to get his first win of the 2023 season and become a back-to-back winner at Circuit Americas. I think Ross Chastain is going to have a really good chance to get it done, and I think it'll be a big threat to win this year's Cup race at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the two car for Team Penske? This, of course, being driven by Austin Cindric. Now, Austin Cindric's coming off a pretty solid run at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and one thing about Austin Cindric, he's a pretty good road course racer. He hasn't had the greatest success at Circuit Americas, but I think Austin Cindric will have a really good chance to be a threat at this race at Circuit Americas. I think he's with a little more experience. He's probably going to do a really good job, and I expect Team Penske to be pretty quick. I think that Cindric could have a really good chance to have a fantastic run this year at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the three car for Rich Childs Racing? This, of course, being driven by Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon's had an up-and-down year to start in 2023. For right now, only one top 10 finish to start 2023, but this could be a perfect opportunity for Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon has had some experience doing some testing at this racetrack and got to race some racing over the offseason with his new teammate Kyle Busch. I think the Austin Dillon's going to have a pretty solid run this weekend, and I think Rich Childs Racing is going to bring some pretty fast cars for this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the four car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This, of course, being driven by Kevin Harvick. Now, Kevin Harvick's been up and down at road courses throughout his career, but maybe with it being his last year, he could have a really strong run with Stewart-Haas Racing. Stewart-Haas Racing has not always had the greatest runs on the road courses, really outside of Chase Briscoe, but maybe with some magic, Kevin Harvick could have a fantastic run at Circuit Americas. He might have a good run. Up next, how about the five car for Hendrick Motorsports? This, of course, being driven by Kyle Larson. Now, Kyle Larson has not historically had the greatest finish to the Circuit Americas. I know he finished runner-up in 2021, but Larson, I think, finished 30th or 31st in 2022. And he needs some good luck considering he's pretty low in the points. Luckily, Kyle Larson is a very good road course racer, and this could be a good opportunity for Kyle Larson to have a fantastic run. I think Larson will be a contender for the win and will be one to watch this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the sixth car for RFK Racing? This, of course, being driven by Brad Keselowski, the team owner. Brad Keselowski's coming off of a very, very strong run at Atlanta Motor Speedway, finishing runner-up to Joey Logano. I think the RFK right now has a lot of momentum going into this weekend, and I think Brad Keselowski could be a pretty big surprise. I go back to Sonoma last year where Brad Keselowski ran extremely well, and I remember Brad Keselowski back in the early 2010s was a really strong road course racer. So maybe with the good mojo around the 16 currently at the moment, we might be able to see Brad Keselowski have a good run. I think he's going to have a good chance to maybe have a good run and continue a strong start to 2023. Up next, how about the 7 car for Spire Motorsports? This, of course, being driven by Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie is coming off a very strong finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway, finishing in 4th. And it seems like Corey LaJoie in 2023 compared to 2022, he's had a really strong start to the season. There's still a long way to go in the regular season, but I feel like Spire Motorsports is a more complete team in 2023 than they've been the last couple of years. And maybe with that momentum, he could have a good run. I know he's historically not been the greatest at road courses, Corey LaJoie has been, but I think maybe that things could change this weekend at COTA. Up next, how about the 8 car for Rich Childs Racing? This, of course, being driven by Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch coming off a pretty solid run at Atlanta Motor Speedway, finishing in 10th. Kyle Busch also going to have a new sponsor this weekend at Circuit Americas. We'll have NetSpend sponsoring for multiple races, including this weekend at COTA. So that's some pretty exciting stuff. Now, Kyle Busch has been pretty decent at road courses in the past, but I think of how fast the 8 car has been at road course tracks over the last 2 years, I think that you're going to see Kyle Busch be a contender for the win this weekend. It wouldn't surprise or shock if Kyle Busch does get his second victory of 2023. I think he could be a pretty big threat, and he might have a chance to get it done this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports? There's a new driver in the 9 car this weekend as IMSA legend, someone who's won a lot of IMSA races and Rolls 24s. Jordan Taylor is going to be driving the 9 car this weekend at Circuit Americas for Hendrick Motorsports. Like I mentioned, Jordan Taylor is an IMSA legend. He has won a lot of races in IMSA and someone who has a lot of racing experience. Plus, he's been helping a lot with the Garage 56 entry. I know Jordan Taylor doesn't have a lot of experience in the next-gen car, but with that Garage 56 experience he's probably had, it might help him. In GT experience, it might help him. Plus, he has won here in IMSA twice in the past at COTA. So I think that we might see Jordan Taylor surprise a lot of people, and maybe he steals a win and gets his first career win in his first start at Circuit Americas. Up next, how about 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This, of course, being driven by Aric Almirola. Aric Almirola has struggled in 2023 with his best finish being 16th. And historically, Aric Almirola has not been the greatest on road courses. But he really needs to get some momentum going because it's been a struggling start to 2023. And I'm a little bit worried about him going into this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Hopefully, Stewart-Haas Racing can turn things around and Aric could hopefully have a good run at COTA. Up next, how about the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This, of course, being driven by Denny Hamlin. Now, Denny Hamlin's coming off a pretty solid, I believe, finish in the top 10 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think he finished 5th or 6th, had a pretty good run at Atlanta. And Denny Hamlin's been pretty decent at road courses, does have a road course win or two in the past, but Denny Hamlin has not always been the greatest on road courses. But maybe, just maybe, Denny Hamlin could surprise a lot of people and maybe could have a good run here at COTA. Hope he can get it done, and we'll see what Denny Hamlin does at COTA. Up next, how about the 12 car for Team Penske? This, of course, being driven by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney had a pretty incredible comeback at Atlanta Motor Speedway and ended up finishing in 7th. Ryan Blaney's also been pretty solid at road courses. Not fantastic, but he's qualified really well. He won the pole for COTA last year in 2022. I think we could see Ryan Blaney maybe have a good run this weekend. And Ford really needs to continue their strong momentum considering how dominant Chevy has been. We'll see what Ryan Blaney does this weekend, and we'll see if he can be a contender this weekend at COTA. Up next, how about the 14 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This, of course, being driven by Chase Briscoe. Now, while Chase Briscoe has struggled so far in 2023 with only one top 10 this season, Chase Briscoe is really good at road courses. And I think Briscoe could be a decent contender this weekend at COTA. If they bring the same pace and speed they had in 2021 and 2022 at some of the road course races, we might see Chase Briscoe contend for the win. But I think Chase Briscoe just needs to come out of this weekend with a bounce-back weekend after not such a great finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Up next, how about the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing? There's a new driver in the 15 this weekend for Rick Ware Racing, and it is F1 World Champion from 2009, Jensen Button. Jensen Button is a legend from Formula 1 and also will drive the Garage 56 entry at Le Mans later this year as well. I think Jensen Button could be a surprise this weekend. He's getting it fitted, he's getting acclimated with the car, and I think Jensen Button might be a big surprise this weekend at Circuit Americas. I don't know if he has had prior experience or not at COTA from Formula 1, but I would love to see him have a fantastic run with Rick Ware. We saw how well Joey Hand ran with Rick Ware Racing, so maybe with that road course experience, Jensen Button can do a really good job. I would love for Jensen to have a great finish in his NASCAR Cup Series debut. He's going to run a couple other races later this year, including the Chicago Street Course and the Indy Road Course, but I'm excited to see Jensen Button get the opportunity to race with Rick Ware Racing at COTA. Up next, how about the 16 car for Kaulig Racing? This, of course, being driven by AJ Allmendinger. Now, AJ Allmendinger is someone who's had an up and down start to 2023, but we're going to road course tracks. And the last time we were here at COTA, he nearly ended up winning. It was in a great last lap battle between him, Ross Chastain, and Alex Bowman. I think AJ is going to be a contender for this win. I think that Kaulig Racing is really going to be focusing on putting up great speed for this weekend at Circuit Americas, and I think that we're going to see AJ potentially have a race-winning car. We'll see what he can do. Hopefully AJ can have a good run this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the 17 car for RFK Racing? This, of course, being driven by Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher's had a pretty decent year to start 2023. I think he's still in the playoffs currently at the moment, but Chris Buescher was really surprisingly good on road courses in the second half of the season. So he could be a really good underdog pick for a lot of people and one to watch for a lot of people this weekend because it seemed like I said, he ran very good at points at road courses last year. So I think Chris Buescher could be someone to watch for this weekend, and I think RFK Racing will do their best to give Chris Buescher a good car for the weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This, of course, being driven by Martin Truex Jr. Now, Martin Truex Jr. used to be very, very good at road courses, won a lot of road course races in the past, but Martin Truex Jr. kind of struggled on road courses in 2022. which is really, really surprising. Maybe Martrick Jr. can turn things around and can do really good with the Joe Gibbs Racing Group, but honestly, I'm a little worried about Martrick Jr. going into this weekend. And he hasn't really been the fastest driver this year. I know he's 7th in the points, but that's due to getting a lot of stage points. But his finishes have not been really great, and I need to see better performances from Martrick Jr. going forward because it's not been a great run for Martrick Jr. in 2023. Up next, how about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This course being driven by Christopher Bell. Now, Christopher Bell, out of all the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, I really feel like he's a driver who could run the best. Christopher Bell ended up finishing, I believe, 4th or 3rd in last year's race at Circuit Americas, and this is the point where he really turned his season around after a terrible start to 2022. 2023 has been a much better start for Christopher Bell. I think he's going to continue to get better. I think that Joe Gibbs Racing is going to continue to give him really fast pieces and really great equipment, and I think Christopher Bell will have another good run this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the 21 car for the Wood Brothers? This course being driven by Harrison Burton. Now, Harrison Burton has had a terrible start to 2023. One thing about Harrison Burton, he does have some road course experience, which might be able to help Harrison out this weekend, because Harrison Burton really needs a good run here at Circuit of the Americas. Hopefully, Wood Brothers can give him better equipment because he has struggled so far in 2023. I think he's, like 29th or 30th in the points currently at the moment. I thought he was going to do better than he has been, but there's still plenty of time for Harrison Burton to turn it around. He did get a top 5 at the Indy Road Course, so maybe he does get some help with a good run, but I'm not sure at this point, but he needs to have a good run at COTA. Up next, how about the 22 car for Team Penske? This course being driven by Joey Logano. Joey Logano is coming off of winning at Atlanta Motor Speedway this past weekend, and Joey Logano is someone who's been pretty solid at road courses in the past. He doesn't have a lot of road course victories, but you know Joey Logano is pretty good at every type of track. It really doesn't matter. And we might be able to see Joey Logano steal a win this weekend at COTA. He's not the favorite for the weekend, but I think that Team Penske is going to try to give him really strong equipment, and I would expect that he's going to be using the setups that Austin Cindric used in 2022 to try to have a good run. Hopefully those setups can help him this weekend at COTA. Up next, how about the 23 car for 2311 Racing? It's, of course, being driven by Bubba Wallace. Now, Bubba Wallace, historically, is not good at road courses. But Bubba Wallace last year actually showed some pretty big improvements and formed the best he had on road courses. And that is thanks to having a lot of experience running in some Xfinity Series races last year. And I think that really helped Bubba Wallace get acclimated more to road courses. So I would love for him to get some more experience on road course tracks in Xfinity. But in all seriousness and all honesty, I think Bubba Wallace has gotten better on road courses, but he's not historically fantastic at road courses. Up next, how about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This, of course, being driven by William Byron. Now, William Byron's been pretty hit or miss at road course tracks in the past. He's had good runs, but also not so good runs in the past. But Hendrick Motorsports always does bring some really good pieces to this track, especially at COTA. So I think that William Byron could have a good run this weekend. I think Hendrick Motorsports is going to put a lot of focus on trying to make their cars fast and trying to make a lot of points after the big holes that they receive. Unclear if any of the crew chiefs are going to return this weekend. Well, maybe we'll see William Byron run good here at COTA. Up next, how about the 31 car for Kaulig Racing? This, of course, being driven by Justin Haley. Now, Justin Haley is pretty underrated at road course tracks. We've seen him run really, really good on iRacing. And we've all seen Justin Haley have some good runs as well at tracks like COTA and also the Indy Road Course and other road course tracks in the past. And a lot of that is due thanks to AJ Allmendinger. Still, I think you're going to see Justin Haley have a pretty good run, and we'll see if that experience with AJ can help him this weekend at COTA. Up next, how about the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports? This, of course, being driven by Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is a pretty underrated road course racer. One of the reasons being he has a lot of IRL experience and also kart experience. That road course experience in those two leagues has really helped out Michael McDowell. And I'm looking at Michael McDowell this weekend as someone who could surprise. I know Michael McDowell really hasn't had the finishes, but he's been somewhat of a driver who's been a kind of contender for the playoffs at the beginning of this year. He's sitting like 18th or 19th in the points currently at the moment and has been qualifying very, very well, surprisingly. I think Michael McDowell could have a good run, and I think Front Row could bring some pretty fast pieces for Michael McDowell this weekend, and we'll see what he can do here at COTA. Up next, how about the 38 car for Front Row Motorsports? This, of course, being driven by Todd Gillen. Todd Gillen's coming off a pretty solid run at Atlanta Motor Speedway, finishing in 15th. And last year, Todd Gillen was actually pretty good on the road course tracks as well, and actually got a legitimate top 5 at Indianapolis. And I remember Watkins Glen, where he was legitimately leading before he had a mechanical failure. So I think Todd Gillen, with his experience of help from Michael McDowell, I really would not be surprised if we see Todd Gillen put up a strong performance at COTA. He needs to have some good runs, and I think he could have an opportunity to do that this weekend at COTA. Up next, how about the 41 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This, of course, being driven by Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece has had a disaster start to 2023, but a lot of it has not been his fault. Whether it's getting involved in wrecks, it was not really his fault, or whether it's mechanical gremlins, Ryan Preece has struggled in 2023. He really needs to have a season turnaround, and he's been pretty decent at road courses in the past, so maybe, just maybe, his road course experience can help Ryan Preece turn the season around, because it's been a really struggling start to 2023 in the 41 car. Up next, how about the 42 car for Legacy Motor Club? This, of course, being driven by Noah Gragson. Now, Noah Gragson has had a struggling start to 2023, but he is coming off of a great run at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where he finished in 12th. Noah Gragson's been pretty decent at road courses in the past, whether it's with Junior Motorsports or whatever team he's driven for. Noah's been pretty decent at road courses. I think Noah Gragson could have a decent run. I'm not expecting him to be a winning contender, but maybe we'll see Noah Gragson have a good run at COTA, but I'm not sure at this point if he will. Up next, how about the 43 car for Legacy Motor Club? This, of course, being driven by Eric Jones. Eric Jones is coming off of a top 10 finish after making a bone and ballsy move to go up there and get up a really strong finish. I think Eric Jones could surprise a lot of people this weekend. I think that Legacy Motor Club is going to give him a fast piece, and I think Eric Jones could have a good run this weekend at Circuit Americas. I expect him to be very, very quick. Next, how about the 45 car for 23XI Racing? This, of course, being driven by Tyler Reddick. Now, Tyler Reddick, while he hasn't had the best start 2023, though the last 2 weeks he's really turned the season around, Tyler Reddick last year at road courses, he was very, very good. And I think that 23XI Racing is going to give him a pretty good car this weekend at COTA. I think he will be contender for another top 5. He's been turning the season around, and I think that Reddick could have another good run. I expect him to get a really fast car, and I think Tyler Reddick will be a driver to watch for this weekend at COTA. Keep your eyes out for Tyler Reddick to be a surprise for the weekend at COTA, because he was really strong at road courses last year. Up next, how about the 47 car for JTG Daugherty? This course being driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had a good start to the year, has been kind of falling off as the year has progressed. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. historically has not been the greatest at road courses throughout his career, whether you go back to the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series. He hasn't been historically the greatest at road courses. I'm not really expecting much out of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. this weekend, and I think we could see him struggle in the number 47 car this weekend. I'm worried about Stenhouse, and I think he could struggle this weekend at COTA. Up next, how about the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This course being driven by Alex Bowman. Now, Alex Bowman in last year's race at COTA was one of the drivers up front contending. He also is going to run the NASCAR Trucks. He's going to run the NASCAR Truck Series race with Spire Motorsports as well. So I have a little bit of that experience to help him out. I think that Alex Bowman is going to surprise a lot of people this weekend. Once again, not just because he's a great driver, but he ran really good here last year. I think he will be a driver to watch for, and I think he will be a winning contender this weekend at COTA with that already getting that experience. Up next, how about the 50 car for the Money Team? This, of course, being driven by Conor Daly. Conor Daly has already made one start so far in 2023, and that was in the Daytona 500, where they were able to make it in after some mechanical problems. And still, I think, finished respectfully in the top 26 or 27, if I'm not mistaken. Conor Daly hopefully have a better car, and the Money Team seemed to be pretty decent last year at COTA on speed. Hopefully they can do a really, really good job, and we'll see what Conor Daly can do this weekend. But happy to see that the Money Team is back out on the racetrack. A full-time IndyCar driver getting the opportunity once again to race at COTA. Really awesome stuff. Up next, how about the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing? This course being driven by Cody Ware. Cody Ware has had an up and down start to 2023 for Rick Ware Racing standards. I think Cody's a decent driver, but I haven't seen Cody Ware really take that next major step. And that's one thing with the Rick Ware cars, no disrespect to Rick Ware Racing, but they're the team that really has not taken that next major step. I think Jensen will do better than Cody Ware, and I think Cody Ware will probably finish near the back of the field like he always does, once again, at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, how about the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This course being driven by Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs coming off of a fantastic 9th place finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway, his first top 10 of the season. And Ty Gibbs is going to be running at a road course. And we know how good Ty Gibbs was in Xfinity Series at road courses. So I expect Ty Gibbs to be someone to watch for this weekend. And he's actually going to run the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series this weekend at COTA. So he's probably one driver a lot of people are going to be looking at as to pick for this weekend at COTA for Xfinity, and could be a surprise pick for a lot of people in the Cup race. Watch for Ty Gibbs because he could have a good run at COTA. Up next, how about the 6.6 car for MBM Motorsports? Yes, heard that right. MBM Motorsports could be entering the Cup race. It's not confirmed. They're not officially on the entry list yet, but Bob Pocker showed it earlier tonight and yesterday when you're watching this, that basically MBM is still considering potentially entering the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas. My prediction is that I would believe that Borised could be the driver who drives 6.6 car, because Borised drove this car at Circuit of the Americas last year. So my prediction right now is that I think that Borised is going to drive a 6.6 car. Maybe Cameron Lawrence is the other option they can go with because he's going to run the 6.6 for MBM Motorsports in the Xfinity Series. But I would think that Borised could be the favorite to get in the car if MBM does decide to enter the Cup race at COTA. Up next, how about the 77 car for Inspire Motorsports? This course being driven by Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon got his best finish of 2023, and it was a 23rd place finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now, I expect Ty Dillon to do better than he's done in the past. He's a decent road course racer, and maybe with that road course experience, could help Inspire run better. He's struggled a lot of the years so far, so he really needs to do better and needs to have much better runs. Hopefully, with his road course experience, he can have the team have a much better run and maybe give Corey LaJoie some pointers and getting them some good runs on the road courses. Maybe Ty Dillon can bring in that experience. Up next, how about the 78 car for Live Fast Motorsports? There's a new driver driving the 78 for Live Fast Motorsports this weekend, as for the first time, BJ McLeod is not going to be behind the wheel. It's actually going to be Josh Bilicki. Josh Bilicki is going to be making multiple starts this season for Live Fast Motorsports throughout the season, with Ziegler sponsoring him this weekend. I think Josh Bilicki is a really good road course racer. I know that Live Fast Motorsports has not been a fast team overall, but maybe Josh Bilicki could surprise a lot of people and get a surprising top 25 finish. That'd be really cool for Live Fast Motorsports, and it's also pretty exciting to see that Josh Bilicki is going to be back behind the wheel with Live Fast Motorsports and back in the Cup Series for the first time this season. Happy to see that, and hopefully he can have a good run with Live Fast Motorsports. Up next, how about the 84 car for Legacy Motor Club? This, of course, being driven by Jimmy Johnson. Now, this is the second of 4 confirmed races that Jimmy Johnson has confirmed he's going to run. Jimmy's also going to run at the Coast 600, and he's also going to run the Chicago Street Course. And there are potentially other races that Jimmy Johnson can run throughout the year. Jimmy Johnson, of course, really excited to see him back behind the wheel. He did compete in the Daytona 500. He unfortunately, I think, finished 30th or 31st in the Daytona 500 in 2023. I expect the race to go a lot better, and I think Jimmy Johnson could have a decent run this weekend at COTA. It's just awesome to see him back behind the wheel at COTA. Up next, how about the 91 car for Trackhouse Racing, also known as Project 91? This, of course, is being driven by Kimi Räikkönen, who will make his second NASCAR Cup Series star, or be attempting to make his second NASCAR Cup Series star this weekend at COTA. Kimi Räikkönen made his debut earlier last year at Watkins Glen and had a good pace, but unfortunately his teammate Ross Chastain kind of caused a wreck that got Kimi Räikkönen involved. I think Kimi Räikkönen, with a little more experience, will run much better, and I think Kimi Räikkönen could surprise a lot of people this weekend with a great run. I hope Kimi can do a really good job in the 91 car for Trackhouse Racing. And finally, driving the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing is Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez is coming off of a not-so-great finish. I think he ran decent at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but not fantastic. I think Daniel Suarez is a driver to watch for, and for a lot of people, and for me, you'll have to watch my race picks on Daniel Suarez because he's one that I think you're going to need to watch out for. Last year, he was the fastest car before Ross Chastain was the fastest car. I think Trackhouse Racing is going to give Daniel Suarez a really strong car for this weekend at COTA. So keep your eyes out on Daniel Suarez this weekend because I think he's absolutely one to watch for this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. So that is the entry list for the 2023 EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix for Circuit of the Americas. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications on so you know if I win a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links are below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts about the interest? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know who you think is going to win this weekend at Circuit Americas. Let me know in the comments below. Later today on the channel, we're going to have the NASCAR Xfinity Series race picks for Circuit of the Americas. Tomorrow on the channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video along with the paint scheme gallery that will likely come out. And then on Thursday, of course, we are going to have the race picks for the Cup Series race at COTA. Then on Friday, a NASCAR news video. And then on Saturday, we will have a special video on the channel that I think you're going to enjoy. It might be revolving around who could potentially be candidates for the 4-car for 2024. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.